A thread by Brian Cates. I don't believe for a minute the people tasked with the most serious and critical national security investigation ever attempted at the DOJ, a coup attempt against a sitting president, just suddenly decided to start leaking anonymously in the past 3 weeks. All those anonymously sourced stories about how Barr and Durham have packed it in until after the election are counting on you buying that these silent professionals suddenly decided to start leaking after more than 4 years. Do you know what's far more likely? The sources of these leaks, assuming they actually exist, are people at the DOJ trying to spin what's about to happen. Let me explain. Any story claiming a White House source assumes the person is getting the real inside info. It's often not true. Let me give you an example. A major conservative publication put out an article about Jared Kushner 2 months back. Anonymous White House insiders were the sources. They all said Kushner was a dumbass, clueless, mishandling everything, messing up domestic policy and foreign. When I asked the author about this, she assured me Trump himself brought these sources into the White House, so this was real good inside info. These weren't outsiders hostile to Trump, so it passed her smell test. Here's what you have to understand. Infighting in the White House over access to the president is savage. It gets nasty and dirty. And these people are often friends. Just because somebody works at the White House doesn't mean they really know what Trump is doing, or Jared for that matter. Look at what happened a month and a half ago with the Abraham Accords. You think John Kelly, McMaster, Mattis, Bolton, or any of those guys inside the White House had a clue what Jared was doing over there in Israel, UAE, Bahrain, and at least 5 other countries? They did not. Access to what's really going on, what Trump is really doing on numerous issues, is tightly compartmentalized. I'm pretty sure 90% of the people Trump brought into the White House and who work there have no clue what he, Jared, Barr, Durham, or Rudy are really up to. So what happens is people who want to sell to the media the idea that they are in the loop approach reporters to anonymously shop stories. Even though the person is frozen out of the inner circle, they are a White House source. See how this works? This is how Trump and Kushner can be setting up the Abraham Accords while simultaneously dealing with the CCP virus pandemic and the economic crisis and untying literal Gordian knots while people at the White House out of the loop are busy selling rumors to gullible reporters. I'm in there, man. I have the inside baseball stuff, they'll tell you. And they don't actually know shit. But it makes for a good story, especially if this anonymous White House official is telling the reporter what they want to hear, stroking their confirmation biases. Now, take everything I just told you about the White House and Trump and Kushner and apply it to the DOJ and Barr and Durham. 90% of the people who work at DOJ don't have the first fucking clue what's really happening. Why were there no leaks this Hunter stuff was dropping today? Why were there no leaks Ratcliffe was about to drop a Moab proving Brennan and Comey and Obama knew in July 2016 Russiagate was a Clinton hoax? Because the real people handling this don't leak. But while the real investigators stay silent, do their jobs as they get ready to roll it out, when they're ready, you have DOJ people out of the loop, all too willing to seek out reporters as anonymous officials familiar with the matter to act like they know what's going on. Just like the White House officials who see Jared every day and didn't have the first fucking clue what Jared was actually doing or going to do. You have DOJ officials familiar with Durham's thinking, shopping their out of the loop rumors to reporters as inside info. I got tired of watching this shit unfold years ago, where people out of the loop still get to play big shot insider as they stroke some reporters' confirmation biases by telling them what they want to hear. Let me remind you one of the biggest reasons anonymous sources are used. Yes, sometimes it's done to protect the source's job to prevent retaliation. But these days, the growing, incessant use of anonymous sources is because reporters don't do fact checking anymore. And so when their sources turn out to be wrong, they can keep using them. You never see when some reporter or columnist is going back to the very same sources that had inside info that turned out to be wrong repeatedly in the past. You can't tell. And they love that you can't tell they're using the same out of the loop sources. And recently, I'm seeing more and more conservative media sites doing this anonymous confirmation bias reporting using officials familiar with the matter. Let me give you one example. The day it was announced that Ruth Bader Ginsburg had died, Trump was live at a rally when this happened. I was watching him. Immediately, conservative news media sites and reporters began claiming they had sources telling them Trump was aware of RBG's passing and was already making plans to fill the seat. I immediately called BS. I said, I've been watching Trump live on my TV for the past 2 hours at this rally. If he's aware RBG has passed away, he's doing an awfully good job of hiding it. Still, for another hour and a half, reports streamed in, always anonymous sources, saying Trump was already moving. And then this happened. Trump's reaction in the thread. She was an amazing woman. I didn't see one conservative news site that had just spent 2 hours promoting anonymously sourced bullshit that turned out to be wrong issue a retraction. That tells me a lot. How hard is it to say, sorry, folks? Turned out the anonymous officials familiar with the matter we were relying on for the report had it wrong. Trump did not, in fact, know during his Minnesota rally that RBG had died. An honest journalist would do this immediately. So, to sum up, keep all of this in mind over the next 2 weeks as Trump's team rolls out a bunch of October surprises. Those anonymously sourced stories claiming nothing was coming were shit.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.